What is this propeller?
What? No, it's just a fan.
A fan?
Yeah.
That's so dangerous. What if one falls on top of you?
This is an American fridge, and it's as big as my arms. This is the biggest fridge I've ever seen in my entire life. There's no fridge like this in Europe.
They have food grinders in their sinks, just like the movies, to get rid of any leftover food. Watch this.
These are not advertisement videos, but these are the genuine reactions of millions of European tourists when they first step into an ordinary house in America. The interesting thing is, while they continuously gaped in astonishment, Americans just shrugged and replied, well, what house isn't like that? And perhaps that is the most surprising thing of all. The things that astonish all of Europe are the things that Americans have become so accustomed to that they no longer notice. So, in the end, how many things in your own home does the rest of the world see as stepping into the future? Today, we will explore the very ordinary conveniences in American households that make Europeans constantly exclaim, "Why doesn't my country have this?" We just talked about how many Europeans step into a house in America and feel like they are stepping into the future. But the interesting thing is, their first shock didn't come from the living room or the bedroom, but it came from the most familiar place in every home, the kitchen.
This button, really? What cookie is that? I don't like it.
Let me do not turn off.
It goes down the plumbing.
There's a garbage disposal.
Oh, so go down the pole. Do we have to empty a...
No, you don't have to empty anything.
Don't do it.
Don't stick your finger.
Well, you can.
Look how fascinating they are.
Whoa!
No, surely that's not allowed just down there, Mags.
It is. That's the whole point.
Is it
Mags, your hole's not in there, is it? What are you doing with that?
I'm on there now!
What is it about a sink that makes European guests so amazed? A little leftover food accidentally fell into the sink. Normally, by reflex, we would start looking for the trash can, but the American homeowner just smiled and flipped a small switch. Immediately, the food disappeared with the characteristic rumbling sound of the engine, and so all the trash was ground up and went down. Wait a minute. Can this sink eat food? It sounds funny, but that's the genuine reaction of many European tourists. Because in many places in Europe, leftover food is often thrown into the trash or the organic waste bin. For many American families, the garbage disposal under the sink is simply a part of the kitchen. It's not a luxury item, nor is it the latest technology. It quietly does just one thing. Helps you avoid dealing with the pile of leftover food every day. And this is what I find interesting. Many people look at American kitchens and conclude, Americans really do like convenience. But if you look more closely, you will see that behind each convenience lies a very clear philosophy, eliminating the small, repetitive annoyances of everyday life.
Food grinders in their sinks, just like the movies, to get rid of any leftover food. Watch this.
You see, just every time you wash the dishes, you save a minute picking up food, save a time tying a leaking trash bag, save a time smelling food left overnight. 1 minute doesn't seem like much, but when added up over the course of a year, that's a lot of time and effort saved. That's also why many Europeans initially found this machine strange, but just a few days later began saying, I wish we had one at home too. And then they opened the refrigerator. The next surprises appeared. Let's talk about size. Look at this. It's really very big.
This is an American fridge, and it's as big as my arms. This is the biggest fridge I've ever seen in my entire life. There's no fridge like this in Europe.
Inside that fridge, it seems to contain the whole world, especially the ice maker.
I'm a European living in an American house, and here are 3 things that are super normal in America, but I wish we had in Europe. First of all, an ice machine in every fridge. I wish it so bad that we had it.
That might be the moment when many people realize that in America, getting a glass of cold water with a few ice cubes is almost a daily occurrence without any prior preparation. No need to remember to fill the ice tray. No need to wait for a few hours. Just press the button. It may seem very trivial, but it is precisely those small details that make life a little more convenient than a little more, to the point where you no longer want to go back to the old way. And there's one more detail that makes many guests burst out laughing when they see it. That is, pantry. A room or a separate area specifically for storing food.
Next, every single house has a pantry. In England, we would just put all of this in our cupboards. Personally, I kind of like this.
Not a few English people walked in and asked, "Is this a small bedroom?" The homeowner replied, "No, this is the place for cereals, canned goods, noodles, cookies." It may sound a bit excessive, but if you consider that many American families shop once a week or buy in bulk at supermarkets like Costco, then it all makes perfect sense. Having dedicated storage space means you don't have to run to the supermarket constantly just because you're out of cooking oil or a few cartons of milk. At this point, perhaps we are starting to see a clearer picture. Kitchens in America are not designed to look more luxurious. It is designed to make life run more smoothly. Each detail only saves a few dozen seconds or a few minutes, but when combined, you feel like the house is quietly working alongside you. If you also find these reactions interesting, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. There are still many things ahead that even Americans rarely notice. But they make European guests continuously exclaim, "Why have we never thought of this?" And trust me, the kitchen is just the warm-up. Because right after this, we will open the door to what makes Europeans spend the most time just admiring in an American home. The gigantic refrigerator and the seemingly small conveniences that completely transform the living experience. Leaving the sink area, many European tourists continued to approach an item that seemed all too familiar, the refrigerator. And it was right here that many people couldn't help but burst out laughing in surprise.
Look how big this fridge is. It's got like huge double door with a huge tray at the bottom. I've genuinely never seen a fridge that big in my life.
The sheer size of my fridge freezer.
These expressions of the European guests are really funny. Some even joked, "Wait a minute, is this a refrigerator or a studio apartment?" It sounds funny, but upon closer inspection, it's not an exaggeration. Two large doors. One side is the refrigerator compartment, the other side is the freezer compartment. Right outside, there is a tap for cold water, ice cubes, and even crushed ice. Just place the cup in, press lightly, and you'll have cold water or ice without having to open the fridge door. For many Americans, it's such a common occurrence that no one even brags about it anymore. But for many European tourists, it is a very new experience. The interesting thing is that their first reaction is not, "Oh, so luxurious," but rather, "Why doesn't our house have this?" Those are two completely different feelings, because they realize that this refrigerator is not made to impress guests who come to visit. It is designed to make life more convenient every day. Now, pay attention to the small details.
And last up, ice makers. Please can anyone confirm to me if these are like a really, really common thing? Ice makers here in the UK are not common. I've never seen a fridge here in the UK have one. I literally have a tiny, shitty little ice cube tray and that's it. It sucks because I like iced coffee. But yeah, is this a real thing? Because I see so many TikTokers have amazing ice departments in their freezer.
In many American households, you don't need to remember to fill the ice tray the night before. No need to run to the store to buy ice when there's a party at home. Want a cold drink? Right away. Want to make iced coffee? Right away. Want to bring a cold water bottle into the car before heading to work? It only takes a few seconds. It's the kind of convenience that if you've never used it, you'll think, not necessary. But after using it for a few weeks, you start to wonder, how did I live without it before? That is also the feeling of many guests from England, Germany, or the Netherlands when experiencing kitchens in the US. This also reflects an interesting difference in lifestyle. In many places in Europe, everything is often very close. The supermarket is just a few minutes' walk from home. The bakery, grocery store, and cafe are all located on the same street. Therefore, they tend to buy just enough for their needs and return when necessary. Meanwhile, in many residential areas of the United States, driving to the supermarket every day is not always convenient. Many families choose to buy groceries for the whole week, or even longer. At that point, a large refrigerator with a spacious freezer and good storage capacity is no longer a luxury, but simply very practical. That's what I like about reaction videos like this. At first, viewers often burst out laughing at the enormous size of the refrigerator. But upon closer inspection, you'll realize the story isn't about the size. It lies in how each culture addresses the same issue. One side is optimized for walking and frequent shopping. One side is optimized to reduce the number of times you have to go out and save time during the week.
Things I hope Europeans decide to appropriate after their time in the United States for the World Cup. Ice. That's all.
There is no right or wrong, just two different ways of living. And it is precisely those very ordinary differences that make cultural comparison videos attract millions of views. If you're still watching, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy stories about everyday life like this. Believe me, the deeper you go into an American home, the more you'll notice many seemingly small things that will leave a lasting impression on foreign visitors. And speaking of unforgettable things, what surprises many Brits even more than the gigantic refrigerator is that it is not located in the kitchen. It's the way Americans organize the space for laundry and storing clothes, a detail that many describe as if there were an extra room just to make life more tidy. After exploring the kitchen, many European tourists thought, all right, the biggest surprises must be over. But no. The host gently opened another door and said, "This is the laundry room." Immediately, many Europeans were left speechless. Wait a minute, do Americans really have a whole room just for doing laundry? It may sound simple, but this reaction appears repeatedly in many videos from British and European tourists. Because in many houses in England, washing machines are often placed right in the kitchen, neatly under the countertop along with the kitchen cabinets. People have been used to it since childhood, so no one finds it inconvenient. However, when they step into an American house, they find a completely different space. The washing machine is in one room. The dryer is placed right next to it. There is a place to fold clothes. There is a clothes rack. There is a detergent cabinet. Even many families have a separate sink right in the laundry room. Some people even joke, this is no longer a laundry room. This is a clothing care center. Let's talk specifically about the washing machine for a moment. There is a very famous reaction clip. A British guy stood in front of the washing machine and said, "I think I could just crawl inside." It sounds funny, but behind that laughter lies a very interesting difference. Washing machines and dryers in many American households are designed to handle large volumes of laundry in one go. Blankets, sheets, towels, or the entire family's clothes can all be washed together. That is especially useful for large families or those with busy work schedules. And what many guests like the most is on the dryer. An Englishman shared after a few weeks living in the US. "I put a whole pile of towels in the machine. In less than an hour, they were all completely dry. Now, thinking about having to hang each towel outside, I feel a bit lazy." That's a very true statement, because people are inherently very accustomed to convenience. At first, you think you don't need it, but once you've experienced it, it's very hard to go back to the old way. And that seems to be a common feature of many home amenities in the US. There is nothing too extravagant. There is nothing that will make you marvel at its price. But every small detail is quietly saving you a few minutes each day. Then the homeowner opened another door. This time, it's not the laundry room, but rather a walk-in closet. It's just a wardrobe, but it's as big as a room. Interestingly, Americans almost do not consider a walk-in closet a symbol of wealth. For them, it's simply a place to store clothes, suitcases, bedding, or rarely used items to keep the main room tidy. I really like this detail because it shows a different way of thinking. Many people think Americans like to build really big houses to impress. But the more I watch reaction videos from European guests, the more I feel they are investing more in tidiness. Each function has its own space. Washing in one place, store things in one place, living in one place. Everything is separated to make life less chaotic. If you still find it interesting at this point, don't forget to hit like and subscribe so you won't miss out on these very ordinary yet extremely captivating perspectives. And believe me, the things that surprise Europeans are not over yet. Because right after this are a series of small details that Americans almost no longer pay attention to, from the window with insect screens, the hot and cold water faucet, the number of electrical outlets in a house. It is precisely those seemingly trivial details that create one of the most interesting cultural shocks. Continuing the journey of exploring an American home, I realized something very interesting. What surprises many European tourists the most is sometimes not the large items like refrigerators or laundry rooms, but rather the small details that Americans almost no longer notice their existence. Yes, it's just a door, but it is designed so intelligently, something this girl has never seen in England. Most windows in the US usually have an additional layer of insect screens. Sounds very simple, right? But it is precisely these small details that significantly change the living experience. You still get to enjoy the natural breeze, but without having to sacrifice the whole family sitting around swatting mosquitoes in the evening. That's the kind of convenience that if you've lived with it since childhood, you'll take it for granted. But for someone experiencing it for the first time, it creates the feeling, why have we never thought of this? Then there was an even more interesting detail. An Englishman walked into the bathroom, looked at the faucet, and asked with a very serious expression, "Wait, do you only have one tap for both hot and cold water?" For many houses in England, two separate taps are still quite familiar. One side hot water, the other side cold water. Meanwhile, in many homes in the US, all it takes is a lever or a twist of the knob to adjust the temperature to your liking. The funny thing is that at first, they found it very strange. But just a few days later, many people admitted, actually, this way is more convenient than I thought. That's also something I really like when watching reaction videos like this. Next is a scene that makes me laugh no matter how many times I watch it. A European tourist looked up at the ceiling and pointed at the ceiling fan. What if it falls down? The host burst out laughing. It won't fall. That's the kind of everyday conversation that reflects something interesting. For Americans, ceiling fans have been in homes for so long that almost no one thinks about them anymore. And for those who have never used one, having a large fan spinning right above their heads becomes something to worry about. And then there's one detail that makes many British people joke. Houses in America have enough sockets to power an entire army. The socket in the living room, the socket in the bedroom, the socket in the hallway. There are even outlets in the bathroom or on the porch. Americans might ask, isn't that more convenient? That's right. And that is the key point. The more I observe the reactions of European tourists, the more I realize that the difference does not lie in any great invention. It's not about ultra-modern technology, nor expensive items, but rather hundreds of very small design decisions, each making life just a little easier. A mosquito net, a more convenient faucet, a fan in the right spot, add a few power outlets where needed. Each individual thing may seem insignificant, but when you put it all together, it creates a feeling that many tourists describe as, living here makes everything feel more convenient. If you also find these very ordinary differences interesting, don't forget to like and subscribe. Behind that, there is an even bigger question: why do houses in the US tend to be spacious, airy, and have a very different spatial division compared to many European countries? And that very philosophy will help us understand why many visitors to the US start looking at their own homes in a completely different way after just a few weeks. At this point, many people might ask a very interesting question. Is it true that houses in America are larger just because they have more land? Correct, but not enough. Because if there were just a lot of land, people might not build houses this way. What surprises many European tourists is not the number of square meters, but in the way Americans divide the interior space of the house. There was a British couple who, after touring a house in the US, burst out laughing and said, "We kept opening one door after another. Every time we opened a door, it was a new room. First is the garage. Next is the pantry. Then the laundry room. Then there's the walk-in closet. Going down to the lower floor, there is a basement. After going around, they joked, it seems this house has more rooms than the number of people living here. It sounds amusing, but that reaction reveals a significant difference in design thinking. In many places in Europe, especially in ancient cities, space is always a consideration. Therefore, a room often serves multiple functions. The washing machine can be placed in the kitchen. The storage room can be right in the bedroom. A corner of the living room sometimes also becomes a workspace. Meanwhile, in many homes in the United States, the approach is quite different. If they can separate a function, they will separate it. Laundry has a laundry room. Storing food has a pantry. Park the car in the garage. store seasonal items in the basement. Clothes have a walk-in closet. This creates a very special feeling that many travelers describe as, everything has its place. I really liked how a German guest described it after the trip. He said that what impressed him was not that the house looked fancier, but that he didn't have to think about where to put things. Sounds simple, but anyone who has ever moved house or searched endlessly for keys, a suitcase, or Christmas decorations will surely understand that feeling. Another detail that many people mention is the high ceiling and open space. Stepping into the living room, you feel that the house is even more spacious than its actual area. The living room connects to the kitchen. The kitchen looks out onto the dining area. The light passes through the entire space. An English tourist even joked, "I can stand in the kitchen and still talk to someone sitting in the living room. At my house, I would probably have to make a phone call." That's the kind of humor that's very down to earth, but it reflects an interesting design philosophy. Open spaces not only make the house look larger, it also helps family members connect with each other more. The person cooking can still chat with the one watching TV. Children doing homework at the dining table are still within the parent's line of sight. The small daily activities happen more naturally. And perhaps this is the most thought-provoking aspect. The more I watch reaction videos from European guests, the more I realize they are not at all envious of the million-dollar villas or the luxurious houses. What they mention more often are very ordinary houses, because those houses are designed to serve daily life, not just to make an impression when guests come over. To put it simply, in many places in Europe, a room often has to do many things. In many houses in America, each task has its own separate space. It's not just a matter of space, it's a story about the living experience. If you are still with me at this point, please hit like and subscribe. Your support helps the channel continue to bring interesting perspectives on everyday life that sometimes even those involved may not notice. And perhaps, after seeing all these reactions, we will realize something very interesting. What impresses many Europeans the most about America is not the skyscrapers or the famous landmarks, but rather the very ordinary things in an ordinary house. A refrigerator, a laundry room, a window with an insect screen, or a garbage disposal under the sink. Sometimes it is those small conveniences that make everyday life easier and more comfortable. And what about you? If you could choose just one American household appliance to bring back to your home, what would you choose? Ice maker? Phong Thay Do? Tu Đường Thucan? Or the garbage disposal in the sink? Please share your opinion in the comments section. I would love to read perspectives from both American and international audiences. If you love videos exploring culture, society, and interesting aspects of everyday life in America from multiple perspectives, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next videos. This video is made to share and discuss the differences in culture and lifestyle between countries based on the experiences of many travelers and publicly available content. Each country has its own advantages, limitations, and living conditions. The goal of the video is not to compare better or worse, but to explore interesting perspectives together and understand each other more through seemingly ordinary things. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.